This is the big one, Harry. A federal judge just issued a permanent injunction finding summary judgment against Donald Trump on his unlawful executive orders targeting a law firm, Perkins Coie. This is part of Donald Trump's series of executive orders attacking law firms, some awful law firms, traitorous law firms, at least in my opinion, submitted. They kissed the ring and they tapped out. But there were firms that fought back, like Perkins Coie. And all the firms that fought back have won, but this is the big win, the big kahuna, the permanent injunction, the Perkins Coie kahuna. The judge here, Judge Beryl Howell, says the following. These words are so powerful, I just got to read them. I can't paraphrase them. You wouldn't want me to paraphrase them. Judge Beryl Howell says, no American president has ever before issued executive orders like the one at issue in this lawsuit, targeting a prominent law firm with adverse actions to be executed by all executive branch agencies. But in purpose and effect, this action draws from a playbook as old as Shakespeare, who penned the phrase, quote, the first thing we do, let's kill all the lawyers. Citation, William Shakespeare, Henry VI, Part 2, Act 4, Scene 2, line 75, page 1. When Shakespeare's character, a rebel leader intent on becoming king, hears this suggestion, he promptly incorporates this tactic as part of his plan to assume power, leading in the same scene to the rebel leader demanding, quote, away with him, referring to an educated clerk who, quote, can make obligations and write court hand. Eliminating lawyers as the guardians of the rule of law removes a major impediment to the path to power. The importance of independent lawyers to ensuring the American judicial system's fair and impartial administration of justice has been recognized in this country since its founding era. In 1770, John Adams made the singularly unpopular decision to represent 8 British soldiers charged with murder for their roles in the Boston Massacre, and, quote, claimed later to have suffered the loss of more than half his practice. Quote, I had no hesitation, he explained, since, quote, counsel ought to be the very last thing that an accused person should want in a free country, and, quote, the bar ought to be independent and impartial at all times and in every circumstance, end quote. When the Bill of Rights was ratified, these principles were codified in the Constitution. The Sixth Amendment secured the right in, quote, all criminal prosecutions to, quote, have the assistance of counsel for defense. And the Fifth Amendment protected, quote, the right to the aid of counsel when desired and provided by the party asserting the right. This value placed on the role of lawyers caught the attention of Alexis de Tocqueville, who, in reflecting on his travels throughout the early United States in 1831 and 1832, insightfully remarked, quote, the authority entrusted to members of the legal profession is the most powerful existing security against the excesses of democracy. That's an opening, Harry. Then she goes on to write 102 more pages and then concludes that Trump has already lost this case, permanent injunction, the executive order is declared invalid, a grand slam for Perkins Coie. What do you make of it, Harry? You've been following these cases very closely.
I have. I used to be a baseball reporter. That hasn't come up yet because this is a grand slam out of the damn park into the water where people paddle to get the ball. She totally slams them. I'll just add the point you made. You said at the end, but this is how the case opened. This is how it started. When you're, running to see an opinion, which way it came out when it starts, no American president has ever, et cetera, that you're in a world of hurt. But it matters a lot. What she tried to do, look, it's a great brief there. Perkins Coie's had all kinds of help from within the profession. It's been the #1 example in contrast to the Paul Weisses and the Skadden Arps of the world, where the firms have come together. 500 firms signed a letter and in their support. And the former Solicitor General, Don Verrilli, wrote a killer brief. And this is what Howe, I think, is very clearly doing in that opinion. There's many ways. We talk all the time. And, you know, I know listeners have become used to this notion of standing and a personal injury. And they've claimed many constitutional violations. Howe goes for all of them, and some of them are direct. You know, you're hurting our livelihood, and of course they are. That's the whole purpose of the order. You can't have security clearances. You can't get in. But bigger than that, and this is really the refrain she sounds from Shakespeare on up, you're hurting society. Lawyers play an essential role in the adversary system. That means in the settlement of disputes. That means in understanding what is true and what is false. So, for example, one of the claims they make, and they do have standing to make it under established law, is you are violating the Sixth Amendment because you are keeping other people from having counsel of their choice. They might want to have Perkins Coie, but now because of this unconstitutional order, they think, I guess I have to steer away. It's as if Perkins Coie isn't even there. And by the way, for what sin? What has Perkins Coie did? Not even the lawyers there now, but lawyers who used to be there represented Democratic causes. It's such naked kind of reprisal. But the point you made, and if you go through, it's a very methodical 102-page opinion. It totally clobbers them. And as you say, really matters. This is this is summary judgment. Game's over. I don't care what you have to say. It doesn't matter what the facts are. No discovery. You have friggin' lost because you are wrong under the Constitution. 6 ways to Sunday. And this is just the point you make that I want to echo and that resonates. What you've done here, Mr. President, who's never done it before, is not only get at your enemies in the law firms, you are harming society. You're harming the whole important function that lawyers play. That's what she means by quoting starting with Shakespeare, going to de Tocqueville. You are really in your petty desire to get back at people who've done nothing wrong other than what John Adams did, right? They've represented people who've done nothing wrong. You're not just jerk off that you are hurting them. You're hurting all of us. Summary judgment. Good night. Get out of here. Now, this will go up on appeal. We'll see what happens, but this is a final decision now. Unlike everything else where it's been temporary and the administration has said, oh, put the brakes on while it's decided, this is done. We'll see what the DC Circuit does with this. And it could well be that the Supreme Court doesn't even take it. We'll see. But the basic notion of really calling out the Trump administration for its overall social harm, not just to the lawyers themselves, that is, to me, what stands out about this 102-page opinion.
Wow. You know, I'm a law professor out here in LA. The future legal textbooks that we will be teaching students with precedent made, you know, on these lines and what the Ninth Circuit's going to do, it literally makes the types of subjects that you and I have been teaching for some time, and you slightly longer than me. Everything's been changed. It's like a different course at this point. Yeah. All of it. I mean, constitutional law has been upended, and I'm confident. I really am. I'll leave people on a positive note. I'm confident that with rulings like this, things are going to hold up. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be painful. It's already been painful. Let's face it.
It's going to be a mess when it's over. Yeah.
But the resistance is growing. Lawyers are fighting back. Yes, there are cowardly law firms. I should be clear. I think that they're traitorous to the profession. I'll just say that, because to me, you go into this to uphold your oath, to fight for the Constitution, not to rip it apart. I go back to what President Adams said about I'm okay with actually representing bad people. Personally, not really, but I'm okay with people who do that. I think
really, you're not, you wuss. I'd be glad to represent that.
I'm just saying right now I'm a podcast. I might as well, I'm not gonna I do this right now. Yeah. So I'm not going back to, but I don't hold it against a criminal defense firm for representing people accused of bad. I'm supportive of that, but there's a difference between representing people accused of bad things while upholding the constitutional order versus representing the very destruction of the constitutional order and trying to tear it to shreds. That's the difference. And when these firms are being complicit with Trump on these cases, they're now fulfilling an agenda that undermines the Constitution itself. And so that to me is why, in the face of a lot, a Perkins Coie and these other firms, Jock and Brenner and whatever, what's the firm called?
Wilmer Hale.
Mm-hmm. But there's a bunch of firms that are out there fighting, and a lot of pressure is being put on them. So it was a great victory for them, and great to report. Great to read. I like reading opinions, so people.
It's stirring, isn't it? Yeah. And let me just add a couple things. Why do when people are told, how can you represent those people? They make defenses of it, and it's not, oh, I love this guy, but it really has to do with systemic values. Everybody deserves counsel, getting at the truth and the like. And those are exactly the kinds of values that, as opposed to simply the putting bread on the table by the lawyers, that Hal is invoking, and it really matters. So it's not just that she holds for them, but the rhetorical stance that she makes. But the other thing I want to say, I'm with you 100%. I think Paul Weiss, SCATHING have hurt themselves forever, and they should, but let's not minimize things. Even if Perkins Coie wins this solidly, they're still going to take a hit, because big clients and big company cases are going to say, okay, they won, but this is obviously a firm that is not enamored within the Oval Office, and the Oval Office is petty enough to try to hurt us. So it's an extra element of courage or you might say they kind of had to do it. But again, the blow they are striking is for not just the legal system overall, but really the whole element that the legal system serves. So look at Hungary, look at Russia, where lawyers, like everyone else, have to follow and are in the thrall of a maximum leader, as Trump wants to be. Here, Howell is saying, and I really agree, and it's so important, if we had that, we would be 2/3 of the way to an authoritarian society. Lawyers matter, and not just for themselves. And it's really worth repeating, because obviously lawyers never figure high up on the list of, the socially esteemed group, but their broader function is really critical in society. And that is what Hal is striking a blow for.
Harry Litman runs the Talking Feds Substack, the Talking Feds podcast, and the Talking Feds YouTube channel. It's where I get my legal news from. Hopefully you get your legal news from there. If you don't, go and check them all out. Thanks, Harry.
Thank you, Ben.
Can't get enough Meidas? Check out the Meidas Plus Substack for ad-free articles, reports, podcasts, daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, and more. Sign up for free now at MeidasPlus.com.